Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I've been your beat reporter covering the Jaguars for OnSI since August 2019, and we are moving forward through yet another offseason together. All right, folks, my name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and today we are talking about Travon Walker signing his big extension with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, everybody who's listened, everybody who's even been the tiniest bit of tapped in to Jaguars offseason coverage really at all, knew that this was going to happen much sooner than later. I don't believe that there was ever a chance, really, of him starting the season and not having a contract. The Jaguars, to me, decided long ago that this is a guy they wanted to make a deal with. I mean, Liam Cohen was talking about it at last year's owners' meetings. A terrible experience in Florida. It was just such a bad setup by the NFL. This year's was much better. But they've been talking about it for over a year now. I asked James Gladstone at the end of the year, how do you view Travon and his upcoming extension talks, considering injuries clearly played a part in his production last year? 3.5 sacks. And it was, pretty obvious from Gladstone's response. The Jaguars valued him more because of what he did last year, not less. The way he fought through injuries last year, he was still an impact player for them. I think that's what people who get hung up on the sacks forget. And I'm not even saying this as somebody who's always been a tried and true Travon Walker defender. I am willing to acknowledge and agree he needs to hit higher ceilings as a pass rusher. But when I say that, I don't mean any. I frankly don't even have his 2025 season in my head. I think he needs to be better as a pass rusher than what he was in 23 and 24 when he was getting 10-sack seasons. I think he needs to be better in terms of getting consistent pressure. I do think them moving him around more, letting him play inside more, putting him next to Josh Hines-Allen on third downs more can help him accomplish all this. But I'm willing to acknowledge that there's another level that Travon Walker has to hit. I mean, Liam Cohen himself said that he told Travon that he wants him to be Aaron Donald-like in the sense that he wants to have to kick him out of practice so the offense can get anything done. So Liam Cohen acknowledges there's another level for him to hit. And there's no reason for even, the biggest supporters not to acknowledge that. But you've seen him be a successful pass rusher before. Has he ever been a dominant one? I wouldn't say so. But the skill set is there. I truly believe if he was healthy, he would have had a career season last year. Started off the year very strong, had that great game against the Cincinnati Bengals in week 2. But injuries. It's interesting to me that some people who were around the team last year are talking about his production from last year. Some crazy takes. Just remember where you're getting your analysis from. And last year, starting in week 4, he was not healthy. And when looking at Walker's profile, again, down the stretch, still made impact plays for this Jaguars team that helped them win the AFC South and make the playoffs. He was a dominant run defender. There was a stretch last year. It was like the Jets, Broncos, Colts, Titans, I believe. Like a month-long stretch where he was consistently making third and fourth down stops against the run. He's an elite run defender. Is he Aiden Hutchinson as pass rusher? No. Will he ever be? Probably not. That's something people are going to have to console themselves in, accept that fact. Is he, I think he's making what? $15 million less per year than Aiden Hutchinson? Is he $15 million per year worse than Aiden Hutchinson? I don't think so. I think that for the Jaguars and for James Gladstone, this is a win. And getting him for less money than Jalen Phillips, who has never had a double-digit sack season. And again, this isn't to say there is no risk with this. This isn't to say there's nothing to potentially look at and say, hey, this is a possible red flag, because there is. If Walker doesn't get better as a pass rusher, are you getting the most value out of this deal? It probably depends on how much you value what he does against the run and his positional versatility. I think that teams in the NFL probably rate Walker higher than people externally do. I mean, he's been a criminally underrated player for most of his career. He's simply because he was drafted before Aiden Hutchinson, and on top of that, he's a Jacksonville Jaguar, is probably never going to get the national love that his game deserves and the respect that I think he has otherwise earned. But with that in mind, there is the fact that, looking at the highest paid edge rushers in the NFL, other than Phillips, he's the highest paid one who isn't, I'd say, a true elite, perennial, all-pro, Pro Bowler guy. Everybody else in that big money range is. That is where Travon Walker has to go to next. I'm not saying he has to be a Pro Bowler next year, because we all understand how ridiculous the Pro Bowl selection process is. But what I am saying is Travon does have to take tangible steps forward. I believe the odds are in the Jaguars' favor that he does. I'm just not sure people remember how good he was at the start of last year's season. The best start to the season he's had. I think that, just looking at the deal he got, 4 years, $110 million, $77 million totally guaranteed, $50 million fully guaranteed at signing. I was expecting him to get more than that. I know I've used the Nick Bonito comp for a while, but I thought he would at least get maybe a little above Jalen Phillips. And to me, what this deal really says, more than anything else, is that the Jaguars want to keep you. I fully believe that they are going to keep you. Jacoby Myers, Travon Walker, Cole Van Landen, Monteric Brown, none of these guys have even came close to sniffing free agency. Anywhere close. The Jaguars have made it clear that they see you as a core piece, as a foundational piece of their roster moving forward, that they are going to keep you. They are going to do whatever they have to do. I truly believe that. I believe that, they are, going to make the money work. And if they don't, if they let a guy leave in free agency, I don't think that they're kicking themselves and saying, oh, we wish that worked out. I think that they are acknowledging, we're okay with you leaving. I think they were okay with Devin Lloyd leaving. I think they were okay with Travis Etienne leaving. Excuse me. That is just truly how I view it, because everybody else, they've made a priority to not just keep them, but to not even have it become a possibility that they'll become a free agent. Buster Brown was the closest one, but he got re-signed before the legal tampering period even began. So to me, the Jaguars have been very intentional. They've been very transparent throughout this whole process. And they've, the question of who's next, they've told us who's next. Brendan Strange and Parker Washington are next. Anton Harrison's getting his 5th-year deal picked up. He will obviously, probably play it out like Travon did, play out his 4th year in the deal, and then engage in contract talks next offseason. My personal prediction, this is just a gut check, I think Brendan Strange gets a new deal in training camp. Parker Washington gets a new deal during the season. Anton Harrison gets a new deal before the draft in 2027. Bada bing, bada boom. The Jaguars have their future locked up. This was a good move by James Gladstone.